Have you ever failed in something and you stay down? You wanted to build that business, you wanted to create the better life for yourself and for your loved ones, but because you stayed down, you didn't? Today with me, I have Lewis. He is trying. He was up and he was down. But the most important thing is he's not giving up. He's not ready to give up. He wants to grow and he wants to work on himself. And today, with his story, he will share us all his ups and downs, and he can encourage you that you can do it as well. So welcome, Lewis. Hi.
Hi, Vincent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking your time, and you are here. Very good. You're doing a second actual interview with you. We did one in the past when you were pursuing your fitness coaching, if you remember.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. It was one of the first interviews I've done, actually. It was live. And so Lewis, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, like where you are in your stage of the life, and basically, so a little bit of your background so people can get to know you a little bit more.
Absolutely. So right now I focus on coaching and speaking. And the way I got there has been a long journey. It's been a very interesting dynamic of things that I went through. I've got a lot of background information to give of where I went with that, because I grew up like most people. I tried to do well in school. My whole goal was getting into a job. When I was in school, I remember when I decided what did I want to do in life. I always wanted to be a teacher. And the thing that put me off teaching was when I found out that, a teacher's salary, and I was like, that's not really that great. It's not really that impressive. Kind of, my dad was in engineering for oil and gas, and I seen, well, he makes good money, so why don't I go in that direction? I've always loved numbers and drawings, engineering drawings, so I went down that path. And what was quite interesting about that current thought process at 16, 17 was I always knew I wanted to do some form of teaching or guiding and helping people, but I didn't know a way of being able to do that. I thought that the only way you could do that was to be a teacher. And that was why I came away from that direction. So it's kind of come around full circle. Fast forward back to today, where I now realize that by getting into coaching and building a coaching business or working with influential people like yourself, I'm able to come in and help people and teach some of the knowledge that I've loved to learn. Because I've always been obsessed with learning. I love reading, courses, mentorships, seminars. I can certainly touch on some of that learning in a bit as well. But the route that I went down is I got into engineering thanks to my dad. I started to do quite well, got an apprenticeship, I got my qualifications, I moved forward, and every single year I made more money. But eventually I got to the point where I plateaued, and I've kind of went, oh, without working for another 5, 10 years and hoping to get promotion, there's no way to make more money other than potentially a 2% rise. And I started to feel capped. And on the side, I had always been entrepreneurial. I done my first sort of business in high school when I started selling chewing gum and sweeties at school. I still remember the day like it was yesterday. I had one bit of chewing gum left. I think I maybe had 2 bits, and someone came up to me and went, "Oh, can I have that?" And I was like, "No, it's my last bit." And he was like, "I'll give you 10 pence for it." And me at 15 thinking, "Wow, 10 pence for this little bit of chewing gum. The whole packet only cost 30 pence." So I'm like, "Wow, that's an amazing markup." And I didn't even know what the term markup meant at that point in time. But I'd done that, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I went, "Huh, I could do this." So the next day I came in with more chewing gum and started offering it to people. And I realized very quickly, and for any of you listening who are entrepreneurs or want to be an entrepreneur, the thing you need to constantly look for is a problem to solve. And without even realizing that at that age, obviously I didn't know that at that point, but I had found a problem to solve. People want the convenience of being able to have chewing gum on demand. They can't leave class and go to the shop and get some. But if the person in class has some, that they can get it. I became a very easy way. And I started to make very good money for my age and for how long ago it was. This was what, 12 years ago. So I was actually making more than I would have with a part-time job. So
I'm sorry.
That got me very interested in the numbers, and I used to come in with my spreadsheets and even overcoming obstacles. I remember, I remember I used to come in, all my chewing gum was in one pocket and the money was in the next pocket. And I come in, and if somebody asked me, what have you got? I'd pull out all the chewing gum and show them. And there was this bully, huge guy, absolutely massive. And he came up to me, he goes, what have you got? So I pull it out, and he just grabs it all, just walks away. Doesn't run, nothing. He just knows there's nothing you
Mhm.
can do because of how big he
Mm.
was. And I'm just looking, watched him walk away in distraught, and I'm like, what am I meant to do here? I certainly couldn't get it back off him because it was three times the size of me. And what was I meant to go do? Go tell the teachers that that I've had my chewing gum that I'm selling that I'm not meant to be selling stolen from me. So I was stuck. So I went home and I went, how can I solve this problem? So the next day I came in with a spreadsheet. So when someone comes in, I'd pull this bit of paper out, which is a printed out spreadsheet, and I had my itemized what was it, what I had, was it in stock, how much was it, and I would hand it to people.
Mm.
And I still remember when he next came round to try and pull that same trick on me, and I pulled out a bit of paper, and the look on his face said, "Oh, found a problem, and I tried to solve it."
Mm.
So that's really the entrepreneurial mindset, and I've done that at 15, so I'm quite chuffed that I've had that mindset. But
Mm.
despite that, it never went anywhere. That was, a side hustle that I had. I got into engineering. I started to make really good money, far more money than I could possibly have made selling chewing gum. And I always done things on the side. I got into investing. I I was always quite the introvert, very shy. So I was very intrigued by the opportunity to make money without having to speak to people.
Do you know, Louis, that this is the podcast and it's gonna go on YouTube, and you are shy, but this is gonna go on YouTube, yeah? You know that. You are good with that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We're way past that now.
Ah, okay, okay. I'm interested to hear about that.
Yeah, and such a journey. Like when I was in engineering, I didn't speak to anyone. And I actually remember when I spoke to one of my bosses because I got knocked back for a promotion, and I went in and I was so annoyed. I told him, I was like, "But I'm better than the guy you've hired." And he turned around and he went, "I know." So, what? So you know that I'm better? I was coming in ready to show him with all the
Mm.
evidence to prove that I was better and I had more knowledge and I'd helped more people. And he went, "No, I know." He's like, "But you don't speak to anyone." He says, "I would
Oh.
rather you were less intelligent but more sociable." And I'm
Yeah.
like, my mind, at that point in time, my head
Mm.
exploded. I was like,
Mm.
wait, you want me to talk to people? I'm thinking, job, you go in, get on with the job, don't speak to someone, head down, work hard. That was my
Mm.
mindset growing up.
Mm.
That's what my dad kind of drilled into me. So I couldn't believe to be told that, no, you need to speak to people.
Mm.
And, fast forward again to today, and, I seen by your reaction there that you know how important being able to speak to someone is now, whether you're in sales, whether you're promoting your business, whether you're speaking or coaching
Mm.
someone.
And would you think that when the boss said that you should be more socialized, was it to be like more regarding that it can bring the more business into the company, or to more like that the community in the company will take you as a team member and you are with them? So basically, there is this good vibe together.
Yep. So in this case, it was the second. We were building that community, building that relationship, being able to interact with people, and going into that role, I needed to be more of a leader. So I needed to be able to communicate and lead people. And in his eyes, I was incapable of doing that because
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't speak to people.
Mm.
And although I had the knowledge, he admitted, he says, "You absolutely know what you're doing." He says, "You're just not ready from that point of view,"
Yeah.
which was gutting, but I then realized he was right.
Mm.
And that was a change that I did make. I started speaking to people. Even it felt strange because in that process, I would just go have a chat with someone, maybe go get a coffee and just chat with someone. And initially it felt so wrong because I'm thinking, I'm not working right now. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not over at my area doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'm away from my workstation chatting. It felt
Mm.
wrong. But
Mm.
it took a little bit of time to realize. But yeah, I was building rapport, I was building connection, I was being included, and then fast forward to becoming more knowledgeable in running businesses. that you shouldn't expect your team to be work, 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 never look away, because then they're not happy. They're not, you need to give them a reason to want to support your company and want to grow your company with you. So they've got to have work-life balance. They've got to have happiness in the workplace. They've got to feel like they're being rewarded for the work that they're doing for you. As I know, especially some big corporate companies, it very much feels like it's it's take. And that's something that I want to teach more today. So one of the things I noticed, and it was something I struggled with myself after I've learned how to be able to speak and lead and communicate, I realized how much in the engineering space lacked that communication because I was in it, I was part of it, I seen it. So I would love to be able to go in and fix that mindset and speak to some of these people and show them how you can communicate. Because one of the issues that happens in engineering is you've got managers, and obviously you'll know yourself being a business owner that sometimes the people below you don't understand why you have to make a decision.
Mhm.
You make a decision because you have all the information. They don't know that. And it might look like you're doing something negative in their eyes, or they're taking something away and they're like, and they're now annoyed at you, but they didn't
Mhm.
understand the full picture. So
Mhm.
one of the things I want to help teach is how do we make sure that the people below you do see what's going on, and how do they get the communication so they don't feel like you're not you're not doing this to annoy someone or to piss them off. You're doing it because this is the needs of the company to help them grow, which will actually help them because it's going to give them continue to keep them in a job, and it's going to help support their families. And I noticed that a lot in engineering. In engineering, there's a big age gap. There was a period of time where a lot of people didn't get into engineering. So a lot of people in engineering are either in their 30s or sort of in their 50s, 60s. There was a gap in between. And the people who are in their 50s and 60s, they have that mindset. You
Mhm.
know, they're at the point where this is, my most hated saying in the world, this is how we've always done it.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean you can't do it better. And you hear that a lot.
So at the moment, because obviously you went through that process of being an employee in that companies and you know how is it feeling. So at the moment, is it like your mission to help to go to those companies and help those people to communicate better or?
Absolutely. I'd like to go in and I'd like to have an opportunity to both speak with the management side and the leadership team on how they can communicate their message down to the lower levels effectively, as well as helping the lower end or the workers sort to say that the decisions being made by management isn't that they're just trying to take something from you or fuck you over or anything like that. It's that there is actually a process and a decision that's being made there. Now, don't get me wrong, some engineering managers, they do just want to rule with an iron fist and be rather power hungry. It does happen. But
Mhm.
most companies from a higher level, the goal is to grow the company.
Yeah. And okay, so this is what you are doing at the moment. So can you also tell us a little bit more about what is it you try to, like you said, like you started a little bit of investing, and was there anything else you wanted to pursue as a business before you discovered that you want to do this part of the thing at the moment?
Absolutely. I've actually went through 12 different sort of, I'm not sure I would call them all businesses, but I've gone through 12 ventures in some
Mm.
ways. So starting all the way back at my chewing gum at school, my later one, my next kind of move, being that introvert, was I moved to investing and trading. I got involved with crypto in early on days. I done stock trading, options trading, forex trading, all these things that I absolutely shouldn't do because statistically 98% of people lose money.
Mm.
Only it's the kind of thing that you need to study it for 4 years as if you were trying to do anything else. It's when you're in the market, you're competing against, there's no beginner stock market. You're
Mm.
competing against the best in the world. And it's a zero sum game. In order for you to make money in trading, someone else has to lose. It's
Yeah.
very different from business where we can all gain.
Yeah.
So I got into that, and initially I done very well. We run I can't remember what year it was actually, but it was the bull market where everything was going up. Your dog could make money in that market. All you had to do was buy something and it just flew up. And I was using leverage, so I was using borrowed money both from credit cards and borrowed money from a type called margin.
Hmm.
And margin is, for anyone who doesn't know, is a kind of loan where your broker gives you a loan where you can buy 5 times more stock than you actually can afford.
Mm.
So it means if your stock goes up by 1%, you make 5%. But what people
Yeah,
forget is
you
it
can
goes
go the
down
other way around.
1%. So if it drops 10%, you've lost half of your money.
Yeah.
It can be catastrophic. And from anyone who knows anything about the market, the downs happen bigger. It's
Mhm.
slow ups, big downs.
Yeah.
And I realized that after my first year in the market, I made my first 100,000. I had started my investment with 13,000 and I took that up to 100. And it felt great.
Mhm.
But what was interesting about that is I didn't feel accomplished. I didn't feel like I had achieved something. I didn't feel like, I had a business or I had grown or had developed. It didn't quite feel real. The other problem with that is the mindset that comes with it. So at this point in time, I had done no mindset training. I had done no personal development. I didn't fully understood what personal development was.
Mhm.
I was under the impression that if you want to grow your mind, you need to just learn more things. And that doesn't directly correlate to a strong mindset. So I had this mindset at this young age where I went, well, if I took 13 to 100, that's roughly 10x. So if I just do that again,
Mhm.
I've got a million. So in my head, that seemed so simple. I was like, this was so easy. So let's just keep going. And then by next year, I'll be a millionaire. So long story short, that didn't happen. We then moved into the crash that typically comes after a bull market.
Mhm.
And because I was leveraged, the crash wasn't a 50% crash like we seen in COVID. This was just a mild correction in comparison. But I seen a 10% drop in the stock market, and because I was leveraged, that's a 50% drop.
Mhm.
So I lost 50,000 in 1 month. I went from making 100,000 in a year to losing 50,000 within 1 month. It was
And
actually
did
it
you
was incredible.
and did you stop over there, or did you just decided to, stay there for a little bit longer until you lose it all?
So I did stay. I tried to reduce my positions and try and come out with some of the margins. I tried to go, right, I've clearly made a mistake here. Let's try and be more intelligent. But I still wasn't intelligent. Like
Mhm.
not compared to what I'd be looking to do today. I diver at that point in time, I actually, the Bitcoin started to run, so I actually pulled a little bit of money and moved to Bitcoin, and I made around about 20,000 with Bitcoin, which again, we had the long run, but things started dwindling down. In the end, so what I had done, thankfully, is I had took the 13,000 back out because I was looking to buy a house. So I thought, let's take my money back out and just play with profits. So that the only one positive way I looked at it is technically I didn't lose anything.
Mhm.
It was never my money. I
Yeah.
think I came out with maybe less than 5,000 in the end. So I
Mhm.
still made something, but if I had cashed out at the top,
Yeah.
obviously no point thinking like that. But then if I had at least realized look, I'm being if I had a mentor for example, they would have looked at that and went, whoa, you're over leveraged here. Let's diversify. And I could have bought 4 property with that money. And I could have had a nice steady income coming in.
Okay, that's good that you are mentioning that, because obviously, especially, and I think it's starting maybe now again, like when the Bitcoin was rising all the way up and up and up, I was getting all these messages and all these events were going on, and it's like, come along and you make money and you do that and you do crypto, and everybody was like, do that. It's easy, you make lots of money very quickly, easy peasy. So a lot of people, they get caught up in it because of obviously people who wants to make easy money, right? But the thing is, it's never easy. With anything you decide, it's not easy. So because I know you obviously, so I know definitely more. So once you have obviously you at least took your money back, so you didn't lose, you make a small profit, and you bought your house. So what did you do after? Like you said, like okay, so what kind of another business you were thinking like to do, and kind of yeah, something that will fulfill you, or somewhere where you felt like that's gonna be better.
Yeah. So in between that, after that took that loss, that's when I started actually looking to get actual mentorships. Before that, I used to just do courses and books
Hmm.
and learn myself.
Hmm.
I didn't actually value. It was a little bit further down before I actually started going to getting a proper mentorship. But in between that time, I started looking at like silly little things again, where we tried drop shipping and e-commerce and all these kind of fad things that you hear people talking about on Instagram. I tried all of them. So there's a handful of things there that none of it really came to anything. Maybe make £1,000 here or lose a couple of £1,000 there. It wasn't until I actually got with a mentor that started focusing more on what what value can you actually bring to the marketplace? And
Hmm.
that was something I'd never thought about when I was thinking about business. It was always how can I make money rather than how can I bring value? And I always loved the idea of helping people. So coaching got flirted with a lot. And when I met this mentor, he actually suggested that I got into fitness because I've been working out my whole life. I've been doing it for a long time. I loved it. I was very passionate about doing it myself. So we didn't have a deep discussion about that. He basically told me, you should do that, go do it. And I was at this point in time, this was one of the biggest guys I'd ever worked with. So I was like, oh, he's clearly smarter than me. He must be right. So let's go down that route. And I got into the fitness. And that was when I sort of started my first proper business. So at that point, I now had to start speaking to people.
And you wrote a book,
I wrote a book. Yeah, there we go. There's one of my original unreleased copies.
Lean and Loose.
I've got my copy here as well. Yes, it's a great book, still very very relevant to help. That's literally the whole premise that I still follow today of how I stay in shape, how I live a lifestyle that allows me to have a bit of freedom. We're not talking about eating 6 meals a day and not allowing to treat yourself. When I came into that, so at this time I was still working in my high paying engineering job. And at that point, that year in my engineering, I had made £65,000. And then when I closed my first client in fitness, it was 695, I think it was, or maybe 795. I think it was 695.
Hmm.
That £700 payment felt more achieving than the 60 odd thousand I was making in my
Hmm.
job. And it really opened my eyes to what a great feeling of going out and actually went, I earned this. I didn't just do a job and got paid it. I actually earned this. I created the system. I done the sales call. Had the conversations. I facilitated this money being made.
Hmm.
And it's an amazing feeling. So anyone who's in business probably knows this feeling. If any of you who listen who are not in business yet, it is a great feeling to look out for.
When you made the money from obviously signing up a client for your fitness coaching, so what did you, not only the feeling that that's really good that you managed to do it all on your own, you didn't need to go to work, but was there any other things like what maybe open your eyes so maybe you see more clearly, or like open the doors to some more opportunities with that?
Oh, it definitely opened my eyes to more opportunities because I certainly realized how, so going back to my original mindset of I want to make money on my laptop, not speaking to anyone. I wanted to be a trader. I wanted to be, some sort of working on the laptop, sitting in the sun on another country. And it opened my eyes to what a real business looks like. You know, I've got to provide a service. I've got to create value. I've got to do sales, speak with people. And it kind of took this unknown love for business and amplified it because
Hmm.
clearly there was something about me that was interested in it because I was selling chewing gum at 15 in high school.
Hmm.
So it gave me a taste of making, more decent money. I mean, that was the highest ever amount someone's ever paid me that wasn't for a job
Hmm.
at the time. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it opens the idea of this is something that is scalable, that I don't need, because going back to when I was capped in the job, I can't make anymore. If I worked harder, I don't get paid anymore. If I do more hours, sure, but I was already doing all the hours I could. I was working at one point 80 hours a week. I'm like, there's not very many more hours to work.
Hmm.
So in the business, then I can start scaling, rather than looking at my hourly rate, looking at the value I gave. And, this first client that I worked with, we ended up losing like 20 kilos within 3 months. It was
Mhm.
an amazing result.
Mhm.
And then I wrote the book and I started to realize that, well, interesting enough, actually, I'd already half written the book. It was something I was kind of just doing as an enjoyment. And I ended up working with another coach and I brought it up and he just looked at me and he went, "You've got that and you didn't tell me." I was like,
Mhm.
"I didn't realize it was a big deal." He was like, "This is great. This is huge. Get it out. Use it as a lead magnet." And that's what we did. And I started to, I said, I got it published, I got it out. And, I gave copies away for people who were interested in working with me. It was a good way for credibility. And it was also another sort of win to be able to say, I wrote a book. I'm an
Mhm.
author. It's a very empowering thing that it's a very difficult thing to do.
Mhm.
And the more
So,
difficult things you do in life, the more you feel better and the more you achieve.
so do you still continue with the fitness coaching?
So at the moment, no. I've not done fitness coaching for a while now. I realized that uh, as much as I like the fitness industry for me, that it was a me thing. And I didn't really like the industry. Like some of the stuff that gets put out in the industry, a lot of it, for any of you that don't realize, social media is a marketing tool. So some of the stuff you see on Instagram is for marketing reasons to get you to watch it. Doesn't mean it's good advice. So there's a lot of that. I mean, you see it in business as well, but the fitness industry, I think ultimately I didn't want to be around people teaching these things. And when I was coaching as well, the very basic premise of lose to lose weight is eat less, move more. And I kind of felt like, what
Yeah, I
more
know that
do
too.
I
I know that
give?
too.
That's it.
I saved 700 pounds. Oh my God.
There you
It's
go.
good. Good.
I'll invoice you for that. It made me realize that if I wanted to educate people and bring the best out in people, that's not really the route that I can be most effective of helping people.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that I can tell you. Yeah, I can teach you lots of stuff about fitness, but a lot of it's you don't really need to know.
Yeah.
Your life's not getting any better knowing the different types of, the way the body processes calories. Like,
Mm. So that was the chapter about the fitness coaching.
yeah.
And now very interesting point if you can share, because obviously I do rent-to-rent service accommodations and I sell them to investors, and we manage 50 service accommodation units, and you have decided to take two rent-to-rent service accommodations to make money, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I had some money left over in stocks that I had sort of saved up and built up again that I was being a bit safer with. So I had about at that time 25,000. And then I met this mentor that got me into fitness and he teaches people about property. And I'm going, huh, it's really interesting. And he kept sharing these people, and this one person that he worked with quite closely kept saying, how great this person's doing, and he's getting all these deals and he's selling them to investors, and the investors are loving it. And I'm like, huh, that sounds like such an easy way to make money. That's red flag number one. Easy way to make money.
Yeah.
Always do your due diligence. And I watched this guy and he was always he was very close with the mentor, and I was like, well, if I want to try getting into this, it would make sense that I should try it with him because he's very close. And I ended up investing and buying a deal with him. I also made a friend that was doing extremely well in the same space, and she was also well promoted by the mentor, and basically saying, she's amazing, she does great, and I'm like, wow. Not only have I become friends with her, and she clearly does do very well. She's got someone who knows more than her, also saying that she's doing really well. So I'm like, that was my due diligence. I was like, these people are around people saying they're great, so they must be great.
Yeah,
And
recommendation.
yeah, so I took my 25,000 and I thought, being smart from what I learned from investing, I went, I need to diversify. So I'll buy one deal from him and one deal from her, and that way I'll spread out my risk because at least one of them's going to make money, right?
So how
And
long have you had these deals for?
so lasted, I was between 6 and 8 months.
And how much money did you make?
I didn't make anything. I continued to pay out £1,500 a month to cover running of them while they
Hmm.
were not making money. So not only did I invest 25,000, I was losing 1,500 a month.
It's a terrible experience for someone who wants to invest into rent-to-rent service accommodation deals.
Yeah, it was.
Hmm.
And it fairly knocked me back and it was devastating. And I
Hmm.
actually, the worst part was one of the deals, the mentor then found out that I'd lost all this money and he asked if I could see the deal. I sent it to him and he went, terrible deal, shouldn't have done it. He
Hmm.
went, you should have messaged me. And I was like, huh, I didn't even think about maybe asking one of the experts or getting an outside opinion. Obviously, the person selling to me was going to say it's great because they're getting their cut.
Hmm.
I should really have done more due diligence. I could have spoke to him. I could have spoke to yourself because
Yeah.
at this point I had then met you. I eventually exited the deals.
Hmm.
I found out. I then, as I've become more knowledgeable in the space and from what I've learned from yourself, we've found out why they weren't working. Like one of them was very poorly set up,
Hmm.
and I know that you then took it over and set it up properly, and now it is making money. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I don't own it anymore.
Hmm.
And as for the other one, I don't know what's going on with the other one. That one I bought out of the contract, so I actually had to pay even more to get out of it. It was heartbreaking. The biggest lesson I could take from that though, other than do your due diligence, which is very apparent, you
Hmm.
know, and the due diligence even on people, like what is their track record as well? Like is this because there are a lot of people in the industry who just sell deals because that's how they make their money. You
Yeah.
know, if someone's selling you a deal and they manage it, well, clearly they're not going to be interested in selling a deal that's not going to make money because then they won't make money managing it. So there's that stuff like that kind of helps. Or even if someone's just selling deals and that's all they do.
Yeah, no, I definitely I see it often. I mean, I've done so far I think 2 videos only on YouTube, but it's like people are sending me those deals like, can you sell it? Can you sell it? Can you sell it? And I'm just looking at those deals, they look amazing. The deal package is like, wow, it's golden and black and all these numbers, and you just see this like how much is money gonna make. I'm like, yeah, it looks good. And after I sit down and I'll make a due diligence, and after I'll find out that it's actually not making any money because all the numbers are inflated because they just want to sell it and make this money and not take care about anything else, which is a very short business because obviously more people will do it, so obviously they'll realize that something is wrong.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's also difficult in today's world, like because we will obviously know those people, but we don't even want to mention their names because we don't want to destroy their brands, and maybe they got better since that, and they can rebuild. But it's difficult. It's difficult, to obviously judge. So definitely, like we mentioned, like it's very good to have someone who can help you, who can guide you, like especially someone who has a lot of deals and can clearly see those deals and can tell you the truth. But also, like you said, like you had someone like that and a big name, big mentor. But it's yeah, you never know. You never know. Yeah.
I think a big thing is how long they've been doing it as well. Like I think one of them had only started doing it that year.
Yeah.
and didn't have a big track record of, maybe multiple years of in the industry. And I actually see that a lot, even with clients that I've worked with today, where they try and sell something that they don't understand.
Mm.
I've recently dealt with a client where I've told them you need to actually stop selling what you're selling because, as far as I'm concerned, you're scamming people because you
Yeah.
don't understand how to deliver what you're delivering, and you're hoping that you could just pay someone else to deliver it.
Mm.
And that's fine hiring people to deliver something, but you need to know how to run that department. So it's crazy to think somebody can come in and say, "Oh, how long have you been in the industry?" "Oh, 3 months." And then be like, "Oh yeah, pay me 3,000 for this deal. It's going to make you money. Trust me, I've done 3 courses." It's like it's in the grand scheme of business, it's not enough learning.
Like for example, I have obviously a few clients, and we went out there, and he finds a deal, and after he's checking with me if the deal is good or not. So, and for example, a lot of those deals what he showed me, I said like, no, it's not good enough, so we cannot sell it because otherwise I can sell it, and and it's really good because even if, for example, he's in the game just 2 months. But the thing is, I'm telling him you need to leverage me because I'm in the longer in that
Yeah.
game. So if they have a question, so you can pass them to me, and I can show them the proof record that as me. So even if you are in the game just 2 months, it's okay because you have me. But if somebody's just like you said, like done online course, and now they are like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and they have no one to back them up. Yeah, I think you need to be careful with that. Yeah.
I really love that, and that was really well put. And I like to say it's borrowed credibility. If you're working with someone, if you've been in business for 3 months, that's fine. But if you're working with someone who's got more experience, then you can sort of lean on their credibility and say, "I'll work with this person. This person can verify it. You can speak with that person," and that's so valuable. So if anyone who's listening, who's only been in business for 3 months, that's a great opportunity to have a mentor or a coach that has more experience. Even if you don't even need to learn anything, but even just having that accountability and having that credibility that they can lean on, that someone else is going to feel more comfortable knowing that you're working with an expert or you're working
Mm.
with someone ahead of you. So I definitely think that's a big thing, and that's something I've had to learn along
Mm.
the way as well. You
Mm.
know, constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly being around people that are on your level and above. I've
So.
done a really good job recently of I don't really associate with people who are below me. If they're
Mm.
not interested in growing and they'd rather just go out to the pub and drink, I don't want to be around that. I'd rather be around people who are at the very least on the same level and wavelength as myself, but preferably people above me, because then I've got a chance where I keep learning and keep growing and be around these amazing people. Because they didn't get there by accident. They got there by doing amazing things, and that's inspiring to me.
Okay, so that's you've done those deals. You have lost a lot of money, and you already said like what you are doing at the moment. You're helping, coaching, and also, finding the way how to help people in the companies through speaking engagements. And before you decided to do that, we actually joined forces and we decided to do something together. We have last 5 minutes. Can you quickly tell us a little bit more about that? Because obviously we ran it for a few months, but we are not doing it anymore. So obviously it's not everything is just sunshines and rainbows. So obviously there are hard things as well in the business. So obviously we set apart for now for that part. But if you can say maybe in your words.
I mentioned the failures I had before, and I think people then expect that they get to a point where, oh, I know what I'm doing now, I'm not going to have any more failures. And that's not really the reality. And this is proof of it. Because we both, Vincent and I, we shared a common interest of wanting to help people, wanting to do speaking, and we shared a similar knowledge base with variable different areas that allowed us to be able to work together to help coach and speak and present to people. And we then quickly learned the challenges of that kind of business that we'd never worked in. We'd never ran events before. This business, we would come into actually running our own events, getting people to come and actually show up so that we can speak to them. And that proved to be such a challenge. So initially, I spent more time focusing on what am I going to say and not so much on how do I get people to actually come.
Mm.
And that was probably one of the biggest drawdowns of
Mm.
the struggles there. And I think the other big thing as well to sort of add is just because somebody's doing well doesn't mean or even more to say someone who's actually coaching you on a certain thing doesn't mean they don't have struggles themselves in an area. You don't need to be perfect to help others.
Hmm.
To go back to fitness, if you've lost weight in your life, then you know how to lose weight. You could help someone who's where you used to be get to where you are now. You're not saying that you're going to get them to stage ready and compete on stage. You're just saying I can get you to where I'm at. And that was a big thing as well, where I actually found that I started to struggle mentally through some of the workload and the the stress of running the events. And it became to a point to me where I actually broke down a little bit and I had to take time to myself and rebuild myself back up.
Hmm.
So it's, as the saying goes, it's okay to not be okay. We all go through things. My biggest thing is just don't let that become your identity.
Hmm. Yeah.
If you're going through something, that's okay to go through it, but don't let it be who you are. Don't become the person who is always got a problem, who is always struggling with this or is always struggling with that. If you have something that I promise you, you can get through it. You just need to find the right people that can support you, whether it's a coach, whether it's a psychologist, whether it's a psychiatrist, a counselor, maybe it's someone up there like Tony Robbins. And I can speak from experience because I've tried them all. I've spoke to numerous professionals, not only to help me grow, but also so that I can learn how they present and how they communicate, so that I can improve my communication, so that I can help everyone else as well.
Thank you very much for sharing all those things, because it's very good that people can see that, there are different challenges in life, and if you want to, grow a business, or even you don't need to have a business, but just develop yourself. So there are things like, like you had up making 100,000, and after you lost 50 right away, and after you lost a little bit more, and after you saved a little bit, and after you went into the different business, having open mind, having energy to do something, and again, like, unfortunately, you didn't pick up the right deal or right people or whatever happened, and now you are back, two steps forward, one step back, but now again you are heading somewhere and you have the clear vision what you want to do, and that's all. What is it all about, right? So I mean, you are very young. You are what, 27, right? So there is no need to rush anywhere, and the thing is, it's important to obviously not give up and just like keep going. And even sometimes we have those challenges, and I had so many of those challenges as well, and yeah, so I think it's definitely very valuable what you shared today, because people can relate to that and they can say like, oh, it's all right. I can actually go and I can get there.
Absolutely. My best mindset that I've taken from this is I have had a lot of knockdowns, I've had a lot of mistakes, but I'll tell you one thing, I've never failed because you only fail when you give up, and I have not yet given up. So I'm still going to move forward. If I get knocked down, it doesn't matter how long I stay down. I could be down for a month, be down for a year. It doesn't matter because I'm gonna get back up. Thankfully, I've never been down as long as a year, but I get up. I'm gonna move forward, and there is plenty of time. That's something. If any young viewers are watching this, please take that away because I was Mr. Try and be a millionaire by 25. It's not. It doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. It's you that matters. Your lifestyle, the people you surround yourself with, your mental health. Are you even enjoying life? Like, what's the point of being a millionaire if you hate life and you're miserable? Enjoy the process and you'll go much further.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. And yeah, and we will do it again someday as well. Perfect. Thank you.